Hello, kindred spirits, and welcome. I'm Chrissy Chicory, author of Cozy Mysteries, Romantasy, and Gentle Magic Realism, and hostess of the Velvet Teacup Society, where stories and friendship gather around the same table. In this series, I share little conversations with wonderful authors about their books, their creative journey, and the magic behind the stories they bring into the world. A small preview before our full live gathering inside the Velvet Teacup Society. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Barbara Barrett, the author of Mahjong Mystery Series, Nailed It Home Reno Mystery Series, the Matchmaking Motor Co. Series, Sullivan's Creek Series, Underwrite Production Series, the Unscripted Detective Series, and the Barefoot Bay Universe Series. So she is very busy. Today, we're going to enjoy a few questions together. So settle in, grab a warm cup of tea, and let's begin. Barbara, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chrissy. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your viewers. And I look forward to this experience later this year.
Oh, fantastic. Can you share your journey into writing? What first inspired you to write your first book and how you decided on your genre?
Sure. I've got a couple different stories that I tell with this. It kind of depends on the day, whichever one I turn to. But let's start with my history. I had a fourth grade teacher who thought I could write very well, and she encouraged me. Not that I did anything immediately from that, but that little thing at the back of my head, that encouragement was very important. And later, I wrote I was in a contest for my church, the denomination, mind you, a large church, and I came in second, I believe, in an essay contest at the age of 15. So that was my first big award, I guess. Um, and then when I was in high school, I was selected to be what they call the Teen Talk editor for our local newsletter paper, which was a weekly column that I did. I collected information from the various schools around town. So that's all before I ever graduated from high school or hit college. After college, and most of my career was devoted to being a human resource management specialist with the state of Iowa. My department name changed three different times while I was there, but basically that's what I did. And they seemed to turn to me every so often when they needed someone to write an official report. But that was probably a roadblock because that's technical writing.
Mhm.
And when I decided to move into fiction, it's a big leap to go from one to the other, and sometimes that that technical stuff still gets in the way. But I I've had a very good life. I met the man of my dreams when I was in college and married him. I got a very good job, like I said, in human resources. I had the two children I wanted, both blondes with blue eyes, although that's no longer the case. But and I had a good career. By the time I was at the end of my 30s, which was a few years ago, I kept wondering, okay, what's next?
Mhm.
Um, and it just so happened that I'm a TV addict, and I watched one particular soap opera every day. It's gone now. It's been gone for several years. It was called Another World. But
Mhm.
on that show, there was a woman. The character was Felicia Gallant, and she wrote romance novels. And they always showed her writing them with a boa around her neck.
Mhm.
And somewhere, somehow that I connected with it. I was going to be another Felicia. At the time, the easiest way to break into the writing uh, genre was to write romance. Romance was just the if you're familiar with the you probably aren't familiar with the book Shanna, but it had just come out, and it's one of the big ones back in the 70s or 80s. And so I thought I would ride the coattails of that, which I did, although I was unable to get um, picked up by either an agent or by a publisher. And so, but I kept hammering away at it. And back in 2012, which is now 14 years ago, but I'd been writing for a while, I was finally picked up by a small publisher because the ebook had come into play,
Oh.
and I used that as a way to get into the business. And I've been and I wrote eight romance novels, and then the other two singles that you mentioned, that the Barefoot Bay, I wrote those with a publisher. And then I decided around 2018, it was time to go out on my own. And it was time to do what I really wanted to do, because I hadn't mentioned this part yet,
Mm-hmm.
which is write the cozy mystery. I'd written at that point 11 romance novels. So I'd cut my teeth on those,
Yeah.
but I really wanted to go into cozies. So that's my road. 2018, that's now 8 years ago.
Mhm.
And let's see, I have written, I've 21 cozies since that time, and I'm working on 22.
That's
I
amazing.
think that's the case. I think in total I have 31 published novels out there, because
Okay.
I did get the rights back to my book, so I own all of them.
Okay. So
Sorry that was so long, but
no, it's perfect. So you
I have
started
I'm old. I've had a long life, so lots to tell you.
and a lot to cover. So you started with the romance. But you said your heart was going to the cozy. So what was it about the cozy mystery that drew you to it?
I started reading my first Agatha Christie and then Ellery Queen about the same time, when I was pregnant with my first child.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't have a lot of money to buy my own books. So I was going, we were at that time, my husband was a head resident with Drake University. And so I used the library there, and I got as many as I could. And I fell in love with both of them, with two totally different styles in a way. But
Mhm.
it was the puzzles, the solving the riddle, figuring out who done it, basically,
Mhm.
and thinking, I can do that someday. And that, but in the meantime, life intervened. I got a job, I had the baby, and it was several more years before I returned to the love of my life. It was in reading, which is the cozy mystery.
Mhm. So, all right. So the mysteries, I think, are you have to be detailed. So are you plotting that from the beginning? Like, do you know where you're going, or are you pantsing the whole thing?
I'm neither,
Okay.
and I'm not what they call a plotzer or pan. Um, with mine, I start out with who the victim is,
Okay.
and I have to have a pretty good reason why somebody would want to get rid of this person. In fact, I need to come up with five at least really good reasons to do that. And fortunately, I think our society is so that it's hard to think of why people might want to kill somebody else. Yes, they might be irritated, or they're annoyed, or want somebody just to disappear from the scene, but to murder somebody, that takes something. And so I have to look for motive
Mhm.
first. And so that's one thing I do. The other thing that I do in my not so much the other two series, but I'm currently back to writing the Mahjong mystery series,
Mhm.
because I'm getting more sales in that, and Mahjong has become very popular. And so I just finished. I'm currently editing and my 11th book in that series, but each of them has a term from Mahjong that I use in the title.
Oh, neat.
And I use that as my springboard to figure out my plot. And then I have to work out, like I said, figuring out who my victim is and who the suspects would be. It's very formulaic, I must admit, that I do that. And but I have, in that series, I have four protagonists,
Uh,
and each of those women has a significant other in her life. So
mhm.
more recently, I've got eight of them, um, each trying for a room on the page. And that keeps the mind busy trying to figure out who does what.
Right.
Each of the books takes one of those four women and makes her the lead for that particular story. That makes it easier for me. I know what point of view to be in most of the time. Um, the other thing that I do is that because in the Mahjong series
Mhm.
is I need to get back to the Mahjong base. And so the story will start with my four women playing something's going on with their Mahjong game. And
Mhm.
it will end with in the epilogue with that another aspect of what they were doing in Mahjong at the time. And that's getting harder and harder to talk about because I don't want to confuse my readers with a lot of technical detail. And I think I'm doing that with my current book because I've decided to talk about another version of Mahjong that I play
Okay.
that my women are supposed to learn, and they don't do a very good job at it. Um, anyhow, what was I going to say as far as okay, so that gives me the framework for that those mysteries. For the others, it's pretty much the same, only I don't have the mahjong piece. I have something is going on in the private life of my protagonist.
Mhm.
In the home reno mysteries, I have a woman who's the main character. I learned with after the mahjong thing, just to go with one. But she does have a
Mhm.
daughter she works with, and
Mhm.
she has a former homicide partner that she who brings her into homicide cases from time to time.
Mhm.
So I have that private life that is moving through, and I also have. I can't get rid of the romance completely. So I have romances going. It's very slow in all three of the series.
Okay, so this is really, since you really dive deep, you need 5 reasons why someone would kill someone. So you're taking, it's not like, oh, she took my cupcake, right? So being that deep into thinking that way, then how do you balance that to keep it cozy?
Um, I For one thing, I don't. A cozy, you don't go into the grisly details. You have to have some,
Mhm.
um, but the murder takes place off screen,
Sure.
off the page,
Mhm.
and then you don't really get into describing everything about it.
Mhm.
You need some because you need some authenticity to it. You made it, and they become the clues. But what I tend to do is it's my protagonists and their private life that I dwell on that keeps it cozy. And actually, it's not technically cozy because a true cozy does not have a romance. So I'm pulling
Blurring.
out the framework of that and let's see, is it both? I'm thinking yeah, in all three series, there's somehow police or sheriff or law enforcement that are there that they work with. And so that's kind of pulling a police procedural into part of it. So it does get into that, but I really dwell on the people themselves
Right.
and their friendships, especially the Mahjong series.
Mhm.
Um, I started writing that when I had retired and gone to Florida, and uh, I started playing mahjong in order to meet people because I was there on my own. My husband continued to work in Iowa, and I tried to bring in the community and the friendships, and I enjoy writing about that. So that sneaks into all of them.
I love it. I love it. So for our last wrapping questions, are you a morning writer or a late night
Oh,
writer?
I'm neither. I'm a midday.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I used to go late at night when I was younger and I was by myself in Florida. But now I I sleep late because I am retired. It's a lovely life, everybody. Um, and I take advantage of it. And so I will get into the actual business or the writing late morning, and that will go through the afternoon into early evening.
Oh.
And then I spend time with my husband um, and in the evening watching murder mysteries. But so that's my answer. That's not a very short answer. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to be short.
Okay.
What's one word that describes your 2026 writing goals?
Um, I had to figure this one out. hold on just a minute. It is modest. In
Are
the
you,
past, I would have said ambitious.
oh,
And
okay.
I'm at the point where I was, the last few years, I was turning out 3 books a year,
Yeah,
which is a lot for me.
yeah.
And I'm decided that I just want to slow down.
Mhm,
Not that life is intruding so much as I still want to keep improving my writing.
mhm,
And there's some things I want to do to make it better writing.
mhm.
So the answer to that is to just take my time, take more time at it.
Nice, nice. And do you have a favorite season or favorite holiday to write about?
I've only written about Christmas in one of my books, and that was a romance.
Okay.
Um, I think it's time for me to, oh, no, I take it back. I did write about Thanksgiving in my home reno series. Um, in That was next to the last in the series. I can't remember all the titles, but anyhow, I wrote about that because what happens is that someone gets a pair of peelings stuck in their home disposal unit.
Mhm.
And that is a major clue to the story. So I needed to pull in the whole idea of Thanksgiving. Who writes about Thanksgiving anyhow? But that's what I did.
I love it. Yeah, I've got one that has Thanksgiving. I
And
think Thanksgiving
as
is
I
great.
continue to write, I will pull in some other holidays. But my next book, I am finally going to marry my one of my protagonists to the man she met in the very first book in the series, and so I'll be having a wedding in that.
Do you know about what time when your release is going to be so you can tell?
No, I haven't even started. I don't know what the plot's going to be, so I'm guessing that'll be early autumn at the earliest.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
but the one just prior to that,
Mhm.
the new one is called Off the Rack, which has to do with the wedding dress itself
Mm.
getting ruined. That should be coming out in April sometime.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, before we finish, I want to thank Barbara so much for sharing her time with us today. You can find links for her work in the video description below. And if you'd like to join us for the full cozy conversation, we gather live inside the Velvet Teacup Society on the third Wednesday of the month. We'd love to have you at our table.